Let's join Dave First, Jim Sorgi, and the RTV6 Sports Guys. It's time for Horseplay.
Yes, it is time for Horseplay. Welcome to the RTV6 studios. Welcome to the IndyChannel.com. Welcome to the RTV6 app. Week 7 of Horseplay. Consider us really your TV pals.
We're your counselors. Your Monday morning counselors. Monday afternoon counselors.
No, it's all good. I'm confused too after watching yesterday's game.
Where are we? What's going on?
What? Here's what's going on, okay?
Please
This
tell me.
team is 3-0 against the AFC South, 0-4 against everybody else. And oh, by the way, we've got a huge Monday night game coming up on Monday. You can see it on RTV6 against the 6-0 Carolina Panthers, 6-0 for the first time in franchise history. This ain't going to get any easier.
We have two undefeated teams coming
back to back.
Up. In prime time, right? Monday Night Football, and then, Sunday
You know what?
afternoon,
The Broncos game is actually, it's the national game on
Right.
another network, but not the primetime game, which
it's
you would
a
expect the
4:25
Broncos-Colts game
Yeah.
to be whenever Peyton comes back to Indianapolis, but it's not this year for some reason. But this isn't going to get any easier,
No,
is it? So.
no, it is not. And it's amazing. I mean, you look at Matt Hasselbeck, he's 2-0 on the season, but then you look at Andrew Luck, he's 1-4 this year.
Right.
Who would have thought Andrew Luck, starting quarterback, 1-4 this year? And you're right. I mean, just think about it. Since Andrew Luck and the Pagano regime have gotten here, we're 17-2 against the AFC South, but we're 17-17 against the rest of the NFL.
I mean, really?
Yeah, we're 500. And then, I mean, we're
So thank goodness for the AFC South.
Thank goodness for the AFC South. Is that it? Is that it, though? I mean, are we just good for the AFC South, but not a good football team for the rest of the NFL?
Well, the AFC South is not what the rest of the NFL is. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
The three teams, three of the worst teams in the NFL. Maybe you throw Oakland in there. Some other. I'm trying to think who else would be of that ilk. Miami until last couple of weeks. They look pretty good now all of a sudden. But really, and certainly in the AFC, three of the worst teams happen to be in the AFC South. Tennessee, Jacksonville, Houston.
But it's weird because you know that by winning the division, your schedule the next year, you have to play all the division winners from the AFC every year.
Right.
If you win the division. So obviously those are going to be tough games because you're playing division winners. But you're also going to get another AFC division, another NFC division, and I just can't imagine us not being better than a lot of those teams with the talent that we have. I mean, I don't know if we're just kind of fooling ourselves, living in kind of a bubble, but I just feel like with the talent that's on this team, we should be playing better football and winning football games based off of just talent, based off of just talent alone.
I said this last night on the show to Michael Grady, who, by the way, is going to join us. He's going to Skype us just a little bit. I said it to him on Sports Extra last night. This team isn't this bad.
No.
So where do we go from here?
Yeah. Where do you go? I mean, you can look at all three phases and really the defense is playing the best of all three phases right now at this very moment in time.
Agree.
The special teams, there's a lot of mistakes. And what happens with mistakes?
Outside of Pat McAfee, a lot of mistakes.
Well, yeah. And then,
or Adam Vinatieri for that matter.
Vinatieri, but he's barely getting on the field because we're not scoring very many points. But you look at the special teams, you either want the special teams to make a wow play in your favor or you want them to be non-existent. But they're making wow plays.
And mistakes.
Mistakes in the other team's favor that are just killing us. The turnovers, the fumbles, and just the missed plays.
We're going to analyze. We're going to help. We're going to be advisors in all this.
We're going to tell you where it all went wrong and then try to figure out together collectively if we can figure it out.
My man here has a long list. So let's get to it. Here's the lead. Here's the final score from yesterday. They were down 27-0, came back and scored 21 unanswered, still lose 27-21. Luck, 333 yards, all this after going 0 for 5 in the first quarter. T.Y. Hilton, nice game. I'm not sure I enjoyed the tumbling touchdown celebration after the first touchdown or not. But anyway, Frank Gordon, just 9 carries for Big Frank. And Drew Brees being Drew Brees, made a lot of veteran moves and veteran play calls down the stretch, 255 yards, touchdown, and interception. Where do you begin in all this? Here's where I would begin. Coming out of the gate strongly has been an issue with this team all season long. These guys are professional athletes getting paid a lot of money. How do you not get up coming out of the gate in these games?
I was worried about coming into this game that it was going to be the forgotten game. And
it may have been.
By the forgotten game, I mean you got the Patriots
Right.
the week before, you got Carolina on Monday night the week after. This was a Sunday 1 o'clock game against a 2-4 team. It could have been the forgotten game. I know Coach Pagano doesn't want to say hangover, but I do believe there was a little bit of a hangover coming off the Sunday night game against the Patriots. And it seemed like we started the game like it was a forgotten game. Like we thought we were going to go out there and like we forgot we had a football game. Like we were just going to bypass this game and head into the Monday night game.
We're good enough to compete with these guys. We don't have to get up for it. We don't have to.
Well, and to be honest with you, if it's not for the mistakes early on in that game, I do think that you don't have to play your best football game and you beat that Saints team by a couple touchdowns. I mean, the fact that you get down 27-0, you're able to come back and make it a 27-21 ball game, and then if you would have just played a semi-decent first half, I do think you win by 10, 14 points. That being said, but I mean, if you go through the drives in the first. Just the first quarter alone. The first quarter alone, we ran 7 plays, 7 total plays, and I believe we only had the ball for like 3 minutes and 30 seconds. And the seventh play was an interception. So I mean, that just kind of tells you how bad it went. But the first 4 drives for both teams, well, first 4 drives collectively was, us 3-and-out punt, them 3-and-out punt, or they had the ball first. We get them off the field. You're thinking, great, we win the toss, we defer, we're going to get the ball in the second half, they're on the field, we get them off the field, we're in good position, but then we come out and have a 3-and-out punt. They have a drive but can't do nothing with it, we get the ball back. Then we go 3-and-out again, and then this is where it all just kind of fell apart. You know what I mean? They have the drive, we stop them, and you kind of remember, Sean Payton challenged that Ben Watson catch on the sidelines, on the Colts sidelines. And I'm thinking to myself when I'm up in the booth, why is he challenging this play? Because even if they win the challenge, they're not going to get a first down anyway. You're 4th and 2 instead of 4th and 10. So I was like, it doesn't really make too much difference in the field goal because NFL kickers are as long as it's not a 65-yarder, they're pretty good. So I'm like, something's up. But it didn't really resonate during the game that it could be some sort of a fake. And then obviously you have the fake field goal, gets down to the 1-yard line. They go ahead and punch that in. Okay, it's 7-0. And then we get the ball back, and then this is where the interception comes in. First play, interception. Andrew kind of didn't really, kind of stared it down. They dropped the defensive lineman. They only rushed 3. The defensive lineman took the first receiver away. The inside linebacker got to kind of shift over with Andrew's eyes and take the second receiver away, kind of step in front. He intercepts the ball. Then the fun kind of starts. We intercept it back, but then there's a defensive penalty. They get a new set of downs. They end up scoring. Now it's 14-0, and then we fumble a kickoff. Then they get the ball. They go down. They score. They miss the extra point. It's 20-0, and it was just crazy from then on out.
Again, Michael Grady Skyping in here in just a bit. We've got PJ, who is back from what I guess was his vacation. Is that right, PJ? PJ in PJ's mom's basement. He takes a look at all the fantasy figures and whatnot. How you doing? Welcome back, PJ.
Thank you. Yes, we had a wonderful time in Brown County, Indiana.
You and Mom went to Brown County?
Yeah, Mom and a couple other family members. It was the autumn leaves were in bloom, and we were in serenity until we returned to Indianapolis and watched the Colts game on DVR. It was no good last week, and of course bled into this week. Not a pleasant household as of late, guys.
Did you say DVR or VCR?
Oh, yeah. Well, we have both, actually. I'm sure I could find that somewhere around here. But, yeah, we actually just upgraded a couple of weeks ago. Mom has it upstairs. I have the VCR down here, though. Run into tape trouble sometimes. You know how it is.
Oh, I mean, what did you see yesterday? What did you and Mom see in this game yesterday?
Mom, she has 2 players that are her least favorite from Sunday. One is Griff Whalen. You can't really spin it any other way. This is the second week in a row too that we've heard his name, and no one knew who he was. Prior to Sunday at about 10 p.m. last weekend. And her second least favorite player, Humanawananui, whoever the tight end
Michael
was.
Humanawananui.
Yeah. Oh wow.
See, it's easy
Jim,
to say.
you got that too? That was.
I've been practicing for the last 24 hours.
Mom, come down here. You gotta hear this. That's him. Guy, we had no idea. We saw it on the jersey. We thought the alphabet soup got spilled pregame, but yeah, she wasn't happy about trying to hear him.
How did Bob Leamy do with Humanawananui?
He did good.
Yeah.
He did good. He nailed it.
Because I worried about that. As soon as I saw that, I sent out a tweet and said, all local sportscasters are hoping this guy doesn't do anything so we don't have to attempt to say his last name.
Bob nailed it. To the point where I didn't even noticed.
Yeah, didn't even second guess. It's
No.
like, oh yeah, Himano.
No, I think me and him had the most problem with Delvin Bro.
Yeah, right.
Because we didn't really know how to do the
BREAUX. Yeah.
So I think we mispronounced it a couple times before somebody told us, hey, it's just Bro. And then it was easy. Then it just Delvin Bro.
If your last name is spelled BREAUX, where else would you play than New Orleans?
Exactly.
So.
He was like meant to be. And I should have known that because, the Devereaux, that last name is pretty common.
Right.
And I know how to say that, so I should have put 2 and 2 together. But I did not because I was too busy worrying about everything that was going on during the game. So I called him Delvin. I don't even want to tell you what I called him.
Who I think just fell down again on the way to the airport.
Yeah.
So
he even played a monster game except for those 2 pass plays, right? And he's like, he gets up, he's got his hands in the air. It's like, man, you can't fall down when you're covering T.Y. Hilton.
Absolutely. And also standing by, Michael Grady, Skyping in from parts unknown. And he's playing. Hi, Michael. How are you?
I'm doing good. What's going on, fellas? I apologize for the lighting issue.
It's all good. I thought you were playing Madden 2015 or something there for a second. So
I wasn't playing with the Colts.
You Be nice, Michael. Be nice. Of course, Michael comes off his radio show, Michael and Big Joe on 1070 The Fan. What was the hot topic?
What's the pulse? What
are
everybody
people ready to go to the Colts complex with pitchforks and flames and whatnot? What's going on? What's the pulse?
Yeah, I think considering the schedule that's up ahead, your next 3 opponents, just 1 loss between those 3 teams. Considering you had a winnable game against the New Orleans Saints on your home field, you're coming off of a loss to the New England Patriots, and everybody was talking about that one play. The Saints were 30th in the NFL in rushing offense. 30th in the NFL in rushing offense. Not only could they not run the ball headed into this game, they also couldn't stop the run. So going in this, you thought, okay, we'll get a heavy dose of Frank Gore. He's going to run all over the Saints. The Colts will be able to stop the rushing attack of the Saints, force Drew Brees to throw. We know he's a capable thrower, but you feel like the Colts can play ahead and maybe force him into some mistakes. None of that happened. They didn't come out the gates ready to play. They couldn't stop the run. Mark Ingram runs for $143.
Yep.
His previous high was 77 yards in an overtime game against the Cowboys earlier this season. And Frank Gore got 9 carries. After seeing that disappointment, no one is talking about the fact that they battled back to get back in the football game. Look, they're professionals. That's what they're supposed to do. You don't pat them on the back for fighting for, till the end of the football game. Everybody is upset at the fact that, and we had more feedback on Twitter than I think we've had in quite some time. Everything was about, why aren't they ready to play? Why is there no fire from this football team? Why does it take a comeback in the closing minutes of a football game to at least make it reasonably or the score somewhat, respectful? So everybody is extremely frustrated with this football team.
I'll turn that over to you. And some of those topics that Michael just talked about, how does that change, in your opinion?
The being ready to play?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've talked about this team this team a couple years ago, it was we start good, we finish the halves, we finish games, but then there's lulls in between. And then, there's teams that play great and they can't finish games. And then there's teams that can't start games. There's no rhyme or reason to it.
Right.
You think a home game against your home fans is enough to get it kind of going, being really TO'd from the week before, losing that game and everybody kind of talking about you. It's just, it seems like there's a lot, the guys are just not reacting. They're thinking too much on the field. They're thinking about what I got to do, thinking about not making a mistake and just going out there and reacting and playing. I don't know what it is, and you're exactly right. The start of games, I mean, we got the Saints off the field twice and had the ball twice before they scored. You're supposed to take advantage of that. You're supposed to take control of that game and just go, and I think we're just so used to that over the years that just not being able to be stopped on offense. If the team doesn't score, we're going to come down and take the lead. If they don't score again, we're going to be up 14, and then it's just going to be a snowball effect like it was against us yesterday. So that I don't have an answer.
Hey, Michael, excuse me. Michael, a lot of these off-season pickups, Frank Gore, Andre Johnson, Harriman's, Trent Cole, a lot of money spent on these guys, and let's be honest, they haven't done anything for this team this year.
Oh, no, the one guy that I will give a pass is Frank. I think Frank is I think Frank's running hard.
Frank's got to get the ball, first of all.
Yeah, he's got to get the football. But yeah, Andre Johnson looks like we barely notice him at times. Todd Hermans was the first guy out of the locker room yesterday because he didn't play. Trent Cole made disrupted a running play, but that was really the only time that we saw him. You couple that with the regular guys that we've been accustomed with playing at a high level who haven't so far this season, Anthony Costanzo, the quarterback, Andrew Luck. You've got a real issue with this football team. One question that we were asking quite a bit today was, who's the leaders on this football team? And the guys that you would expect to be leaders, whether it's Andrew Luck, who's not playing well, on that offensive line, Costanzo is supposed to be the leader. He hasn't necessarily been playing well. Until the defender for the New Orleans Saints fell down twice, T.Y. Hilton was relatively quiet on Sunday. These are the guys that you're expecting to be vocal leaders, and I haven't even touched on the defense. Somebody needs to step up. We'd like to see someone get in someone's face. Everybody was talking about a dust-up between Ryan Grigson and Jim Irsay. My response is, why was that the only dust-up in the locker room yesterday?
I would have been disappointed if there wasn't a dust-up, or at least some words exchanged between the owner and the GM. But that you bring up a great point, and I remember back in week 2 after the Monday night game, Michael, you and I were standing in the hallway after the game. I asked that same question. Who's the emotional leader on offense? And I don't know that it's Andrew Luck. I don't know that Andrew Luck's ever been in a position like this where he has to come out swinging. I mean, the guy's been pretty successful, high school, college, first 3 seasons of his NFL career. I don't think he's the one that's going to rally the troops. Reggie Wayne was that guy, but he's no longer with the team. I don't know that there's anyone that commands that sort of attention on the offense outside of Frank Gore, and Frank's too quiet of a guy and maybe not comfortable enough here with the Colts to be that guy.
Yeah, Frank's just too new, and Andre's not doing anything from a productive standpoint to get noticed. Dwayne Allen's kind of a vocal guy, but more or less when you talk to him these days, he's frustrated about his touches. This is obviously a contract year. They have a lot of weapons. He had 1 catch yesterday, and so Dwayne's kind of a vocal guy, but he's just not in the mix. We asked him a question yesterday about why is this team inefficient on third downs, and he said, I'm not on the field on third downs that much, so I can't answer that question. Yeah. There's some, frustration going around. So many weapons, but there's only one football, and they still are struggling with finding an identity on the offensive end. We thought that, okay, against that Saints defense, we would see them turn into a running team, and they just didn't. They just weren't able to do that at all. They weren't able to stick with it, and they obviously got behind on the defensive end, giving up touchdowns, and it was just an avalanche effect.
Should you have an identity as an NFL team? Does that make a difference?
Well,
or is it week to week?
You're going to do whatever. You're going to put the personnel on the field that's going to give you the best matchup against that defense, and you're going to do whatever is going to make you successful for that week. I remember when I was playing for the Colts, we had 3 great wide receivers. We had 2 really good tight ends. But, for the best matchup was the 2 tight end sets on offense. That's what we were going with. If it was running the football, that's what we were doing. And then we play off that with our play action pass, our deep overs, our deep corners and things like that, our post routes. And if it was line up, spread them out, 3 wide receivers, flex Dallas maybe as the tight end, which actually turned to 4 wide receivers because Dallas was our tight end. And do things like that, open it up, then to run the ball, because then we would get our belly action from the gun and things like that. What frustrated me yesterday is our very first drive. I mean, Frank Gore runs for 2 yards, and then he runs for 7 yards. We got a 3rd and 1, and we go fast-paced, and we throw a quick game, and nothing's there. We get sacked. We got to punt the ball. And, I mean, you're running the football. So why go quick? You're doing well huddling. You're getting chunk plays, 2, 7. You're going to get a yard if you line up and run the football. Why go quick? Why not just huddle, get the right play, give Frank the ball again downhill where he's going to get you that yard, or Mahamud's going to get you that yard, whoever it may be. That frustrated me. Before halftime, I think we had the ball. It was 3rd and long. We could have ran the clock 2 minutes and then ran the play because they didn't have any timeouts, and then took another 40 seconds off the clock because we were going to have to give them the ball back unless we pick up 1st down, but it was 3rd and a mile. The 2-minute warning would have gave you time to maybe get a play to pick it up, but if you don't, at least the clock's going to run. But we don't. We run a play before the 2-minute warning. It gets us to the 2-minute warning. Then we got to give them the ball with 1:45 left instead of 1:10, 1:15. Those are the things that are just frustrating to me.
Well, it's about playing smart. There's certainly a management issue. I think in many ways. And Michael, on the radio show, I'm sure there was a lot of, hey, fire Pagano, fire Grigson talk.
Yeah, and for me, heading into this football game, we were asked the question, does Pagano make it through the season? My feeling was if you lose to the New Orleans Saints, then all bets are off. Again, Carolina coming up, Broncos coming up, Atlanta coming up. That's a murderous row right there if you're not ready to play those football games. Those are tough as it is. So to lose a winnable game on your home field to the Saints and to be down 27-0, really all bets are off and nothing would surprise me. Chuck Pagano has been criticized since he's been here for X's and O's and things like that and the right game plan and sometimes being outcoached. But one thing that we've never questioned is whether or not he can motivate his football team to be ready for football games. We've always felt like he's always great in the locker room, that guys all love him, they're going to be ready to play. That has not been the case so far this season. And so because of that, what is it going to take to wake this team up? What is it going to take to get that light switch to go off? If Chuck's not getting to these guys to get them ready for football games, what is it going to take? And it may mean him losing his job. We shall see. But these next few weeks are going to go, a long way in revealing whether or not that happens. If they get blown out by Carolina, if Denver spanks them here in Indianapolis, if they lose on the road in horrible fashion to the Atlanta Falcons, which is all conceivable, then I would be surprised if Pagano lasts all 6 games.
Well, when's the best time to do it? You know what I mean? Do you do it in a week where you have a game in 7 days? Do you see how these next 2 weeks go and then do it going into the bye week? I still think Coach Pagano's the coach. I don't think he will get fired this season.
In the middle of the season.
In the middle of the season. I think that's a lot.
Michael, nice job. Thanks a lot. You got a busy plate this afternoon. Players are talking at 2 o'clock at the Colts complex, and then Chuck Pagano talks at 4. I'm pretty sure you'll be able to watch Chuck Pagano's comments live right here on the RTV6 app. So, Michael, thanks so much. Have a good afternoon. All right, buddy. Thanks, man. And let's take a look at the next 6 weeks of the Colts schedule. We talked a lot about it next Monday. A week from tonight, down in Charlotte, North Carolina, taking on the undefeated Carolina Panthers. Panthers are 6-0 for the first time in franchise history. Denver had a bye this week. They're now 6-0. Peyton Manning hasn't looked all that great. They've been winning winning with defense, and that works too if you're 6-0. Yeah. Then you've got the bye. If there's going to be any changes made, to piggyback off what we're talking about, it might come in that bye week. But I tend to agree with you, Jim. I don't think coaching-wise, I don't see a change happening mid-season here.
Yeah, I do think there's coaching mistakes in that game in terms of what we've talked about already. I mean, the special teams and stuff like that, having to call a timeout on special teams because somebody's injured and then, needing that timeout later. Those things will come back to haunt you. But I don't think it's the coaches. I just think that some of our star players are not playing well, and they're key players in key positions, and we need them to.
Chemistry? Does chemistry make an issue? Does chemistry come into play at all? A lot of these new guys coming in. We had Dwight Lowry on the show last night. He talked a lot about how this team tends to ride the roller coaster way too much. The highs are great, but when you hit the lows, everybody thinks it's over, and this team has a hard time
getting back up. And I agree with that. It's funny because my father, he taught me a bunch, obviously a ton growing up, but he said, don't make it, hills and valleys. Mm-hmm. Make it little blips on the radar. When things are going great and you're riding high, don't make it like it's the greatest thing in the world. Expect it. When things are going low, then it won't take much to get back to that point. So little blips in the radar, and that's kind of the way I've always tried to live my life. But you can kind of see it with this team. When things are going good, it's, oh my God, things are great. Wow, wow, wow. When things are going bad, it's like, oh, we're done. We're down. When it's over, we can't come back. We're 6 feet under. And maybe that's a little bit of it. I don't think it's chemistry, because I do think that the guys that we brought in to complement the guys we already had are not flamboyant personalities that they're just going to outlandishly just tear the locker room up or take over a team. Look at the guys on the offense. Harriman's is going to do what he has to do. He hasn't really complained about coming out of the starting lineup. Andre hasn't complained about his balls, Frank's his touches.
No one's complaining.
No one's complaining.
Right.
So you don't think it's a chemistry thing. It's just they've been together long enough to where they should start playing together. It's just I don't think the games are going as expected in terms of the way it needs to go for everybody to be successful and everybody to be happy.
Let's take a look at the Monday afternoon quarterback numbers for Andrew Luck. Again, we've got PJ. We're going to get over to PJ here in a bit, and Phil Orban, who's a sports anchor down at Charlotte, North Carolina, WSOC. We'll get to him here in a bit as well. Monday afternoon quarterback numbers: 23 of 44, 333 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks yesterday. And that career-long 87-yard touchdown pass to T.Y. Hilton. I thought they got away. When I say they, I guess Andrew. I thought Andrew got away from the short screens, dink and dunk, that sort of thing. Kept the ball a lot longer. Was looking downfield more. Did you see that at all yesterday?
A little bit. I mean, you look at the first half. I mean, he started 9 of 19 for 79 yards and 2 picks. I mean, he had a 0 rating up until the 9-minute mark in the second quarter. And then the second half, he played phenomenal. 14 of 25, 254, 3 touchdowns. But what I did notice, he did kind of get away from his checkdowns. And obviously, penalties and sacks kind of push you back. But I did notice a check down yesterday. Frank was kind of in the middle of the field. He ended up dropping the ball. I don't know if you remember the play.
Yeah, he bobbled the ball.
He bobbled the ball. But I did think Andrew didn't throw that ball the way he should throw that ball. You don't have to put a lot on that ball, but you can't just float it to where the nose of the football is pointing upwards. You got to give it to him, because that'll give Frank the time to catch the ball, turn, see where everybody's at, and make a move, maybe make somebody miss and get some yardage. It seems like sometimes when Andrew comes down to those checkdowns, he relaxes a little bit, his elbow drops, and the ball kind of floats a little bit, and he doesn't put the pep on it. It just seems like those throws are off kilter sometimes. Those are supposed to be, hey, I'm getting it to you, here it is, boom, catch the ball, turn, and make somebody miss and make something happen. And that just seemed like a little bit of a red flag to me. But he is coming off the shoulder. You know, who knows if he's 100% healthy. He's probably not 100, but he good enough to play at least.
That was my next question. Is the shoulder still bothering him? I would say, watching him out there, probably yes.
Well,
I mean, to the point where at the end of the season, if we hear that Andrew's got shoulder surgery planned, none of us would be surprised.
Right, but I don't see him alter. A guy that had a shoulder problem in myself, I had to alter my release from up high to kind of like 3/4, so it wouldn't hurt, because I had a torn labrum, and I played with a torn labrum for 5 years while I was in the NFL, from my second year till my last year with the Giants, until I got it fixed. But it's not something that prohibits you from playing and playing well. You got to alter things, and I haven't seen Andrew really alter things. His release is the same. I have noticed his accuracy is a little off at times, and his strength's a little off at times. But I don't think it's something that serious, and I could be wrong, but it just looks like he's just not in rhythm right now.
Let's take a look at what is next. As mentioned, 6-0. Panthers coming up a week from tonight. Monday Night Football. You can see it right here on RTV 6. And the Panthers took care of business on Sunday Night Football, beating the Eagles 27-16. Cam, there he is, 197 yards, 1 touchdown throwing, 1 touchdown running. He also had 4 carries for 20 yards. Jonathan Stewart, look at this, 24 carries for 125 yards. Ted Ginn Jr., 5 catches, 59 yards, and Kawan Short was just unbelievable last night. 8 tackles, 3 sacks. Phil Orban is a sports anchor at WSOC, the ABC television station down in Charlotte, North Carolina, and he joins us on the phone lines this afternoon. Hi, Phil. Looks like you've got, 6-0 teams, fun to cover, right?
It's a lot better than this time last year when they were in the middle of a 6-game losing streak. So, yeah, we're pretty happy right now.
How good is this team? Is this really a 6-0 team, or are there holes that perhaps the Colts can take advantage of on Monday night?
It's a pretty good team. I mean, I think they had all the question marks answered in that win at Seattle a couple of weeks ago. And then last night was a game where, you're in prime time and you're coming off that big win against the Seahawks, and you're kind of primed for a letdown, and they didn't play great, and they still beat a team that's pretty good. Yeah. So I think when you don't have your best stuff and you can still beat a team that's pretty good, I think you're legitimate. I mean, I think they're as good as any of these unbeaten.
Hey Phil, Jim Sorgi here. I just want to ask a question. Like, you cover this team. How do you beat this team? I mean, what do you have to do? I watched them last night, and the defense looked phenomenal. Not Kuechly. I mean, some names short, and then there's another linebacker, and I got to do my a little bit more.
Davis, yeah.
It just looked phenomenal on defense. The secondary looked really good, coming down, flying around. How do you score points on this team, and then how do you stop that offense?
First of all, you have to take advantage of the mistakes. That's the one thing. Cam threw 3 picks. Really, only one was his fault. He threw 3 picks, and they got 6 points off of it. And when that field closes down, and there's not room to operate, it's really tough to score on them. I think the one question mark going in, they lost Frank Alexander to an Achilles injury in the preseason. Charles Johnson's hurt. The question mark was that pass rush, and I think they got something out of KK Short that they always knew was there, but he's been a monster. So they have the pass rush. Josh Norman has turned into one of the elite lockdown cornerbacks in the NFL. Guys aren't throwing to his side anymore. And then everybody knows the linebackers. I mean, Thomas Davis and Luke Kuechly are two of the best to do it. So, to see what they can do at all three levels of the defense has been pretty fun to watch.
Getting Luke Kuechly back has probably meant everything for that defense, is it not?
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. I mean, he's the quarterback of that defense. He sets everything up. He sees everything so well. He's pursuing angles that haven't developed yet. I mean, it's just remarkable to watch him work. When you're up in that press box, you can kind of see everything. Just to see the way he moves and see him make the checks and the calls, and he's so rarely out of position, so very rarely out of position. That long touchdown run the Eagles had last night, it was so surprising because he over pursued and opened up that cutback lane, and he just doesn't do that. So to have a guy like that back, I mean, it's been huge.
Well, you have Benjamin get hurt in the preseason. He's out for the season. Everybody's worried about he's not going to have any weapons to throw to. Greg Olsen is what he is. The backs, are doing a good job. I think Cam is picking up the slack, but who else has kind of stepped their game up? Is it Ted Ginn Jr.? Who else do they have?
I mean, you can tell that Ted Ginn's happy to be back in Carolina. The thing that Roman Harper said, their safety said last week, that was really interesting was he said that losing Kelvin has helped Cam work through his progressions more, in that last year he would try to force things into Kelvin that weren't there because he's a big body, he can help you out, he can make the catches. So he's been able to connect. It looks, and Cam didn't necessarily agree with this, but there may be something there in that he's working through his progressions. He's finding different receivers, and it's a little bit of everybody. I mean, Greg Olsen has had huge games. Ted Ginn Jr. has had huge games. Philly Brown has made some catches. Yeah. Devin Funchess will have 3 drops of easy passes in the first 3 quarters and come up with 2 huge catches, real tough ones in Seattle. I mean, those are the type of things that winning teams just do. When you don't really have an answer for it, they just kind of do them. And you look up at the end of the game and you're like, oh, that was a big play by a guy you didn't necessarily expect to make a big play.
It's funny, we've been talking about the Panthers. We haven't even brought up Greg Olsen yet, who I think is a tremendous tight end. Yeah. Maybe one of the best right now, maybe outside of Gronk with the Patriots. But tell me about, because we're flying down on Sunday, what are we running into fan-wise in Charlotte? Is everybody on board, or is it kind of like Bengals fans were like, hey, they're pretty good, but let's kind of wait and see how things are going to play out here?
No, I think everybody's on board. I think again, I keep going back to that Seattle win, but I think that made a believer out of a lot of people. And then last night in Sunday Night Football, the expectation was Philly fans are going to come in and kind of take over this place and be loud and do their thing. And it really didn't happen. I mean, there were Philly fans there, but it wasn't the type of thing we may have seen in years past.
I have one last question. Stewart is kind of the main guy in the backfield. Where's Tolbert fit in? I mean, is he your third down guy, maybe short yardage inside the 5 guy? Because I saw he scored a couple touchdowns yesterday. He made a phenomenal play on that one. He caught the ball in the flat, made a guy miss, and then took a couple Philly guys in the end zone. Where does he fit in that offense?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, he can do a little bit of everything, though. I mean, he's definitely the short yardage guy. He's a bowling ball that kind of pinballs around and gets 3, 4, 5 extra yards. And that play that he made was kind of vintage Mike Tolbert, right? Comes out of the backfield, makes the catch, makes the guy miss, runs over another guy, and scores. I mean, Jonathan Stewart's the tough, physical downhill runner, and Tolbert is kind of the same way, but he can do a little bit more out of the backfield as well.
Last thing, Phil, I'm hoping, I'm not sure where they have all the local TVs do their what we call live shots or live broadcasts before games, but I'm hoping it's somewhere close to where the Panthers come out, because I really want to size up Cam Newton, to see if he's this
You'll be-
the 6'6" Adonis that that everybody thinks he is? I mean,
Yeah.
is he big?
The first time you see him, you're gonna be surprised. I'll say that. 'Cause, like, you know how big he is, but then you see him for the first time, and he's in his pads, and he's got his rim protector on, so his chest looks a little bit bigger, and he's got the shiny cleats on, and
Superman.
I will tell you, no matter what you're ready for, you will be surprised.
Yeah, he's like a tight end playing quarterback.
It's not fair.
I think I might wear my rib protectors on Monday night too, just in case. Hey, Phil, look forward to meeting you in person, and we'll see you down there next Monday night.
Thanks. Sounds great. Thanks so much.
All right,
guys.
thanks a lot, Phil Orban, sports anchor down at WSOC Channel 9, the ABC station down in Charlotte, North Carolina. Quickly back over to PJ and PJ's mom's basement. Keeping a close eye on the fantasy figures and whatnot. And I think I've officially made the decision I'm dropping Andre Johnson from my team.
Good. I never really bought into it anyway.
It
was
took
just
me
that
7
1 week.
weeks, but
That's sometimes how fantasy shakes out. Good for you for loyalty, but you waited a little too long. That's okay. There are other guys out there. We'll get to that first. Let's do our trivia question of the week,
trivia.
because we want to give away an iPad Mini, that is. Here we have it. We've been talking about coaches and possible firings and letting go of the leaders of the team. Here we go. When the Colts first moved to Indy, or we'll blast from the past year, what head coach was fired with 1 game to go in the season? Just 1 game.
I know the answer to this.
Oh, well, do share.
This was 84, correct? 85?
Correct, yes. Yeah. 84, 85.
Yeah, so right after the move from Baltimore, obviously. So this goes, were you even born in 84?
I was 4. I was 4 years old.
That's aware. You were aware.
Man. Does the name Frank Kush ring a bell?
Yes. Is that who it is?
Frank Kush, am I right?
Ding, ding.
Hey!
Mr. Frank Kush, who had an interesting career. He was great at Arizona State, and then he got kicked out because he punched a punter. And
I just feel
that'll happen.
That's
really.
kind of dirty, though. You move the team, he comes with the team, and then the next season, before the season's even over, one game left, you say thanks, but no thanks, and then
pretty
rough.
This
goes back to the Bob Irsay days. A lot of strange things were going on. A lot of decisions were made in very bizarre situations. So you learned as a Colts fan and those who worked out at the complex, you learned to kind of ride the wave.
Gotcha.
You with me on this?
Sure.
So that was one of them. You get rid of Frank and you move on. I mean, there were a lot of Colts coaches. Venturi's in there. Ron Meyer's in there. A lot of guys just kind of came and went, and the teams were never very good. And fans in this area were just learning about the NFL game in person. I mean, they were all always Chicago Bears fans, St. Louis Cardinals fans back when the Cardinals were in St. Louis, Bengals fans. It was a maturing moment for Colts fans around here.
Figuring out the right mesh, right? How it all came
Pretty
together.
much, yes.
And it all came together, what, 11 years later?
10 years later, that's right, 95, when they made the great run with Jim Harbaugh.
And then just kind of
Ted
steamrolled from there.
There you go.
So
And it worked
anyway.
out.
All right, what else you got, PJ?
Frank Kush, there it is. All right, so some fantasy picks, speaking of Andre Johnson. Yeah, you just be done with it.
Yeah,
Just move on.
thank you.
mean, with Dorsett's injury up in the air, maybe you see Andre on the field a little more, targeted a little more because they don't have that slot option. But I'm not
I don't know if
buying
they've
it.
taken Andre off the field.
Well,
That's
right,
the thing.
but-
Have you noticed at all?
No,
with Andre?
he is not. He's on the field.
He stayed out there
Yes.
the whole time.
He is
so.
on the field. He's just, what did he get? 4 targets, 4 catches, 44 yards. I think it was all 4s yesterday.
And a big chunk
From what
of
I
it
remember.
came about like a 20-yard gain that he had. So
Yeah,
anyway,
4 for
sorry,
44.
I interrupted PJ.
No,
what else you
no,
got, bud?
all valid. Yeah, be done with Andre. Still skeptical on Frank. I mean, there are other options around the league. Even some secondary backs are producing more regularly than he is, at least in the passing game. That's the one thing about Frank is you don't see him that much in the passing game like a lot of running backs around the league. Even Mark Ingram, though his rushing yards aren't that great over the course of the season, the guy was catching 4, 5, 6 passes a game in that Saints offense. So just something to be looked at. And really, Andrew Luck's still producing numbers, but he's gotta be annoying with the number of picks that he's throwing. I mean, those are -4, -5 points in some fantasy leagues. It's just frustrating for how high he was supposed to be regarded from a fantasy perspective early this year. Some pickups this week in the quarterback position. I'm finally ready to admit that Ryan Fitzpatrick is a legitimate fantasy option. We expected this guy to just be a game manager and maybe throw a deep ball here and there, but Chris Ivory, their Jets running back, of course, to take the brunt in that offense. It hasn't been the case. Fitzpatrick's been great. He hasn't had one of those games where he throws 3 interceptions, which we all have expected to happen. So I'm ready to say that you can pick him up and pull the trigger on him. Alfred Blue, Houston Texans, Arian Foster, the latest victim.
Yep, Arian Foster's out for the season.
Injury train, the latest victim. Alfred Blue, he's a solid backup to Arian anyway, so it's even more important now. Go grab him if you don't already have him, or just starting him. The wide receiver position got 2 picks for you, actually 3. One for tonight. Michael Floyd, your Arizona Cardinals wide receiver. He doesn't get as many looks, but he's on the field 70% of the time. And John Brown, who's been a breakout receiver for the Cardinals this year, he's actually questionable with a hamstring injury. Michael Floyd, a good choice for you tonight. 2 others, Stephon Diggs of the Vikings.
Yep, I just picked him up.
Good.
Andre's out.
You're
Stephon
learning.
Diggs is
You're
in.
learning, Dave. Well done. 108 yards and touchdown. He's found a groove with Teddy. Good stuff.
Diggs, right?
Good stuff with him. Another Albert
17
Wilson.
points yesterday against
There you
the
go.
Lions.
Well done.
So there you go.
Yeah, well done indeed. Albert Wilson's another one. Kansas City Chiefs, especially after Jamal Charles went down, that team became a little bit more pass heavy. And he's become one of the few receivers that the Chiefs have had who's had significant production over the last couple of years with Alex Smith under center. Look for him.
Okay, so this is, I realize this is a very selfish question here.
It's allowed.
Next week, I have both Luck and Cam Newton.
Ooh.
Who do I play?
I think you need to play Cam. Nothing against Andrew as a player, but we've all been talking about it.
Terrible at fantasy.
I'm terrible at fantasy. Are you kidding me?
Hey, sometimes it's just luck. You know,
It's
my
just
mom,
luck.
yeah, I know, right? My mom, who's in a league, she just picks them by the color of the team, and she's great in an eliminator. You know, she's so it's not always about knowing, but you got to go with Cam. Not just the rushing yards possibility that he gets, because those are more valuable than passing yards, but looking at just how good that Panthers defense is. Even if Luck gets to 300 yards, it's not going to be pretty. And even if he does throw a couple of touchdowns, with the way he's been playing, there's going to be a couple of picks associated with it. You can only hope for the best, but that's a dang good team you're playing against.
All right. Thanks a lot, PJ. What's for lunch, by the way? What's Mom making?
We're going with shrimp Creole. Oh, no, I shouldn't have said that. That's right. She's a closet Saints fan because of the Cajun food.
Creole?
So,
really?
Yeah, she
Saints
decided to mix it up today.
All right.
She was inspired.
It's amazing what we learn about PJ's mom throughout the course of the season.
I feel like I know her.
You feel like you know her. Thanks a lot, buddy. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, guys.
All right, so a week from tonight. By the way, here is our programming schedule. A week from tonight, all begins on the news. Or check that, the Now Indy at 4 o'clock. We come on the air, and then at 7:30, countdown to kickoff. This is all live from Charlotte, by the way. And then Mike Tirico, John Gruden pick up the call at 8:15. We come back on the air after the game as our coverage continues at 11:30. But technically, it all begins at 12:30 because we'll have Week 8 of Horseplay live from Charlotte. Jim and I are going to be Skyping in. First time to be Skyping it. No,
I know.
Well, one of the first times for me. But anyways, very excited.
First time for me.
So what happens next Monday, you think? Stay tuned and find out.
I really don't know, man. I really don't know. I want to say they bust out of it and they're going to get a couple wins, but
this is a crucial week.
Yesterday was a crucial game. The week before was a crucial game. 3-5. But you remember when the Colts started 3-4, lost the home opener at Lucas Oil to the Bears, and had a tough game against Minnesota. And then I was on the team. Our team rattled off 9 straight wins. We go 12-4, and the rest was history. I'm kind of hoping that this team kind of finds their stride like that. But it's just we're not losing because we're not playing good football and just getting tough breaks and losing. We're losing because we're not playing good football and the ball's not bouncing our way, and that's hard to fix sometimes.
Here's the bottom line: keep hope alive.
Yeah, don't give up. Don't ever give up.
For Jim Sorgi, don't keep hope alive. Don't give up. For Jim Sorgi, I'm Dave First. A cast of thousands here at RTV6. Thanks for tuning in. Week 7 of Horseplay. Again, we're back here next Monday. Week 8, live from Charlotte, North Carolina. This is going to be a very interesting week, next couple of weeks as well. Once again, there's our programming schedule for next Monday. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you back here next week.